10-year plan is an ongoing 10-year plan that looks 10 years into the future. It doesn't say that we're doing this street 7 years in the future, now we're bringing this street up here.
Mm-hmm.
The 10-year plan just says, here's where the streets are. And many of our streets needed maintenance in the very first part of that plan. If you talk to Patrick Neal, our former road consultant, he would tell you this is a very scientific process. And he's absolutely right. You go out and rake the streets. But if you get two people rating the streets, some people say, well, it needs to be done this year, some people would be next year, and some people may even say 3 years from now. There is science to it, but it's also subjective when you add the numbers up, when you assign numbers to the various deficiencies. Last year, this year, current fiscal year, we did about half the streets in town. We found there's an efficiency in doing a larger project rather than smaller projects every year because of the staging costs to bring the equipment up to Carefree. We got half the streets done, we have the other half to go. We've looked at that other half, the staff has, and said, they really should have been done maybe 2 years in advance, a few of them maybe 3 years. But if we do them all now, then we get every street in Carefree, with the exception of 1 or 2 streets, done. We really haven't brought a lot of things very far forward, but we've serviced all the streets in Carefree. It does 2 things for us. It gives us 2 large projects where in the long run we save on the money of staging it, and it also gets almost all the streets in Carefree up to snuff. And we don't have citizens saying, you did my neighbor's street behind me, why haven't you done my street? They look pretty much the same to me. So it's not a case that we're trying to bring a lot of streets very far forward. It's a case that we're trying to take streets that we would have serviced a year or 2 from now, 2 or 3 years from now, and bring them all together.
By doing it in 2 years, haven't we now accelerated the next time we'd have to do it? And the answer I'm hearing is those streets were crummy enough that doing them in 2 or 3 years isn't a bad idea. And we're saving so much by doing them faster that even if ultimately we'd have to do them a year sooner next time, we're still ahead of the game. Did I get it about right?
Well done, sir.
Then the longer we let the streets go,
The worse they get.
the worse they get, towards it might even cost us more. The streets
Well,
will
there's
be
some
ongoing
confusion.
every year. Every year they'll be looked at and graded.
Some of our streets are on very good foundation. They don't require as much maintenance and they don't get much traffic. Some of our streets are on not very good foundation. They have sediment under it. We need to do them more frequently. We service the streets when they're needed. We've also had, very candidly, some deferred maintenance in 2009, 2010, when times were tough. We said, we don't have the money, let's hold off, see if we need it. We're kind of catching up, and we're also pulling a few things closer into. I understand your concern that we're doing something that we really don't have to do for 4 years. That's not the case. We're trying to get caught up to where we should be.
This is a continuous effort. Every summer we'll go out and evaluate the streets. If we see an area that's alligatoring, guess what? We're going to have to program that in there by the next fiscal year to ensure that we don't have structural damage and have to have a very expensive project in the near term. So it's something that evolves over time. I can't say that, you know, we treat it this year, it will be 3 or 4 years. It all depends upon the condition of that street.
It depends on the condition of the street. Some of them, it's going to be crack sealing and fog sealing. Some of it, R&R, remove and replace, and other ones, it's going to be much more expensive.
The master plan has an excellent dialogue of what we look for, what are the conditions, and how we treat the street. So if you want some of your questions asked as far as what we focus on and how we rate the streets, the master plan discusses it from A to Z. It's a very good plan.